the best coaches in the game. We really ain't playing. We regroup up in the Slack chat where the coaches debrief. We be piecing these puzzles, occupy the chunk of the pie. Ain't no lie when we hit the block. Helmet's casket is top. You be seeing helmet after helmet, helmet after helmet. First place, second place, fifth place, eighth place, 12th place, 15, 16, 20. So many helmets, you got blurred vision. We got.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Sway Bar NASCAR Cup Series breakdown. I'm your host, Kevin Allen, aka the Geek. I've got my man Gage, aka Auburn Fan 30. He's a fan of Auburn. What's up, man?
Not a lot. Ready to kill this race.
I hear that. 4 races this weekend. I'm overwhelmed with the sheer volume of races. I can only imagine from the content side what it's been like trying to go through all these, break them all down, and, you know, mentally get your head straight. But that's what we're here to do. We're here to break down this Cup Series race, try to figure out how to make these monies. You ready to do it?
For sure.
All right. So let's pop up the research station here, and today we are looking at the Pocono Organics 325. So the first thing I want to ask you, give me the unique aspects of this race, because this track is very different from most of the tracks we've seen all year. Break it down for me. What's different about the Organics 325, just the Pocono track in general?
Yeah, so this track in general, very long track. It's a 2.5 mile. It's a triangle. You'll see a lot of single file racing at this race. I think that the thing that I've been looking at mostly, which I think everybody in the world's going to agree with, is that it's only 130 laps since they are running tomorrow as well. So that does have an impact on like Dominator upside, stuff like that. Other than that, it's a large flat track. That's a little bit different than most of the tracks we see. I think there's only like 4 of these on the whole schedule. So a certain amount of drivers are great at them. Some guys have never had success, but we'll get into that.
So whenever I hear a large track, this is a 2.5 mile track. Essentially what's going on here is when we say you don't have to worry as much about Dominator points, you know, we have races with 500 laps, right? So there are 500 fast laps to go around. There are 500 lead laps to go around. It's a really big deal. Here, with just 100, how much is this? 130?
130.
This is like a freaking, you know, trucks race almost, where there's just not that many Dominator points to go around. So you're really looking for, and you know, we can highlight that with the tools, but well, actually, Nilly does a good job of highlighting that with his tool here. But you know, 130 laps at 0.25 points a lap for a you know, you're talking about if you led the whole race, you're talking about like 30 Dominator points just from the from the lead laps, and then whatever fast laps you get. Now, is this track one where the leader is getting all the fast laps?
Not necessarily, but the leader will get a ton of lead laps. Like I said, it's single file racing, so they don't like passing. But
okay, so
no. I mean, like it's a little bit more difficult to pass. Of course, he's going to get lead laps if he's the leader. Yeah, I see what you mean. I fucked up there. It's my bad. It's a fuck up. But yes, that's what I meant.
Now, the other thing I want to understand, and this is what confuses me about this track versus like a Daytona. Normally, when we get a giant track, a 2 mile, we get the restrictor plate racing, we get the drafting, and we get that sort of carnage thing happening. Is this a carnage race?
No, this is a very safe race. If we look at the track tabs, the track tab. My bad. No, fuck, I can't speak. Pocono Raceway here. Average green flag run at race 14th, compared to like a Talladega and stuff, or a Daytona and stuff. It's like 20th. So I mean, it's not.
14th is not that bad. I mean, there is some carnage going on here. That's not at the bottom. Like, how many tracks are there? It's in the high. If that's the number, let's see here. Wait a minute. Pocono, 2.5 miles. Average speed 142 miles per hour. So whatever reason, it's not the fastest.
No, they don't really draft here. Like, it's not like a big drafting track.
here we go.
They
Average
do, but
lap-
they don't do it on a scale of Talladega or Daytona.
honestly, when you look at this number here, average laps finished 92%. 19. This is a carnage race.
Not really. That's more of like guys in the back not finishing the race. Percent of laps finished. Yeah, I think that's more calculating in those shit bags in the back that engines blow up and stuff like that.
I'm not accepting this. I'm not accepting it. Percent of race under caution, 17%. That's right up there with some of these carnage races. So
I mean, yeah, there's wrecks. It's just it's not like a Talladega Daytona car. Like you're not going to see like a 20 car pile up here.
there we go. Now
You may see like a 2 car, but not like a 20. That's what I'm more meant.
Yeah, not the same level of carnage, but definitely these guys are driving faster than usual on this type of track, and it does sound like at least there are crashes though. Yeah, you're not getting Daytona and Talladega present the unique situation where a crash takes out like 9 cars. That I agree we're not getting that, but this does look like a race. I'm not gonna discount these statistics. This does look like a race where you're gonna get some carnage. You'll get some drivers crashing. They're driving faster than usual. Pocono Raceway. Let's see what else we've got going on here.
Let me clear myself up real quick. When we think of carnage races, we more think like guys in the back will be able to pay off their salaries because they'll be able to move up. This isn't one of those tracks.
Yes.
This isn't like a Talladega Daytona. This is not a track where we want to load up on like Josh Bilicki.
We'll look at that in a second. So I love the research station. This is like the greatest fucking tool. I'm telling you, guys, when you're listening to this, you know, everybody wants to you can use this tool. This is unlike anything that's out there. You can use this tool and really fully understand everything if you just take a minute to go through these things, which is why we try to do this here on the Sway Bar, right? Part of this is teaching you guys how to use the watch and me. I'm trying to figure out what's up for this race too. But we want to figure out you, the viewer, use the DFS Army member. How do you look at these tools and kind of get a sense of what you want to do for a race? So this is the shit that we get going with. Now, I'm on the Pocono Raceway tab, right? Percentage of race under caution, 17%. Again, it's one of the higher numbers. So you're definitely going to have good chunks of this race. Or not definitely. Listen, Talladega was like fucking the cleanest race ever last week. It was brutal. I played it for carnage. But, you know, that's how it goes.
I did not, but I didn't cash high.
Yeah, that's right. You don't know that it's going to happen. Now, here's another one. Average laps from the pole lead. Now, this is a deceiving number because 36 laps here is kind of like it's like 90 laps or 100 laps somewhere else. Like I'm gonna dismiss this number actually because I just think it's deceiving, but it definitely shows that the pole sitter is not automatically a must play. He's 35, 36. Matter of fact, you have to be cautious about the pole sitter in a race like this, unless he's someone you think is going to win the race or finish top 3, in addition to leading a few. Average pole sitter fast laps. I don't know what we can glean from that.
Not a lot.
I'm going to move
worse.
on
It's like
to
17.
Yeah, I'm gonna move on to another really important tab. The first one I usually go to for every race, which is scoring by starting position. And this is the tab where I try to figure out, and we try to figure out in the past, what's happened. You just mentioned we don't carnage, sure, but the back guys are not the play. So let's take a look at the numbers and what are we seeing here?
Well, for studs, of course, the back guys are going to be good because they have great cars. So if they're starting in the back with that place differential, like if you're getting like a Kevin Harvick at 38th, yeah, just fucking play that. So studs, just throw that out the window. As you can see, the sample size is way too damn small.
Yeah, it looks like.
But you're gonna get.
Actually, it looks to me like this is the race where you want stud drivers starting from the back. I mean, every race I like that though.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Especially this one with 130 laps, but we didn't get gifted that with COVID. So goddamn it, COVID.
Fuck the Rona.
Fuck the Rona. You want drivers starting 1 through 5 here. They are very good.
Look at
that'd be.
Yeah, I mean this is very telling here. Starting
that'd be Blaney, Hamlin, Busch, Elliott. You know those 4. They're historically starting in good spots.
What's interesting is, you know, normally these studs driving 11 and 20, like these numbers are particularly interestingly, I guess, concerning And what I don't know and what we don't know is that because like during qualifying, the really good cars are kind of vetted out and in practice and they wind up in the top group. Historically, we don't have a practice here. So we're not getting the the people at the top of the board are actually not necessarily the fastest cars for this race. So I think we have to almost grain of salt this a little bit, just because traditionally we'd have the fastest cars in practice up at the front. Whereas now what we're getting are, is this an inverted? So 20th place is starting first or something like that?
That will be tomorrow.
So what did they do?
This was a random draw to set for today's race, and then
This
after
is
today's race,
random
it'll be
draw.
inverted. Yep.
And tomorrow is invert. Okay. Wow. So random draw. So the people at the front aren't faster cars. They're none of that, right? So we're just dealing with a random draw. So again, I'm gonna dismiss a little bit of this because I think traditionally you had the fastest cars qualifying up front, and technically what this was telling us is that, you know, those guys aren't getting into too much carnage, and whereas normally I'd want to get the middling dominators, in this case it sounds like those guys in the past that were starting up front kind of hung around and stayed there, and maybe they all traded a little bit of lead laps. Let's see the mid-tier, what happens in this race. So again, if we get a mid-tier driver kind of starting in the back, that might be something to strongly consider. Definitely don't want sort of these middling guys who are starting up close. There aren't as many middling guys. These are probably like the Newmans of the world, the Almirolas.
Yeah, looking at this tab, we're seeing we get, you know, from the mid-tier about 31 through 35 based off of a pretty solid sample, 20. That'd be Ty Dillon. Be your one guy.
Is he mid-tier or is he a scrub?
He's mid-tier. He's just above the mid-tier quality.
Like a Chris Buescher.
Yeah, he's about in that range.
Yeah, so we have to see where those guys are starting. We haven't gotten to that yet. We'll see where those guys are. And finally, the very important, what do we do with these scrubs? And it doesn't look good here, man.
For the vast majority of these scrubs, we're going to click that little check mark on the DS. It's right beside their names. Fuck them. Get them out of here.
I've just had an idea for a musical interlude during these breakdowns. I'm not sure that we could play it on a YouTube stream, and it's a shame. But if I could, it would be that's I don't want no scrub. You know what I'm talking about? That's before your time. It was like it was a women's group.
But near blast like that, because I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
You don't know? I don't want no scrub. I fucking knew it. I knew you wouldn't know what it was. Everybody watching this shit knows that song. A scrub is a guy and I get no love from me. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I actually have no clue what the fuck you're talking about.
You fucking millennial, not knowing pop culture motherfucker. But I can't play it because if I do it, we're gonna get copyright infringement. We can't play it. But just think of it. For this situation, we don't want no scrubs. Scrub is a guy who can't get no love from me. Hanging out in the passenger side of his best friend's ride. No, it's not happening. Okay? He's got no money. He can't take you out on the date. Let me tell you about a scrub. He's got no money. Okay? You go out, he's like, yo, baby, give me a couple dollars for the McDonald's. We're going out. I can't afford to take you out to dinner. And I got no job. That's a fucking scrub. We don't want that for this race. TLC, there we go.
My boy Brutus already calling me out in the NASCAR Talk channel.
Deservedly.
Called me a fucking pup.
We don't want no fucking scrubs in this race. All right, enough. We're trying to get into breaking down the race. So, fucking talking about scrubs. TLC, though. Yeah, great band. Left Eye. May she rest in peace. I think she passed away. All right. They definitely sue us for copyright. All right, so Almirola gets the pole.
Yep.
Let me open this up so I can do some sorting here. So we're going to the main drivers. We're going to try to figure out who are the plays here. Now, we just talked about Almirola's kind of like a scrub. Well, he's a mid-tier. He's starting on the pole. It's not good.
Not good at
I'm
all.
out on Almirola. What's your thought on Almirola?
My thought is I'm going straight to the domination station. I'm clicking that little check mark beside him, and I'm gaining 10% leverage on the field.
Okay, so you
I don't want
unfriend
that
him.
guy.
We unfriend him. I
We
unfriend
unfriend
you.
the fuck out of Almirola.
Yeah.
I do not
No,
want you.
no Almirola. What the fuck is this
I don't know
called?
what you just did to the research
Oh,
station.
no. I made a mistake. You got to make a copy. All right, guys. Pro tip: when you go to the research station, the first thing you do is open it in Google Sheets and you make a copy so that you can sort this. Okay.
Who'd have thought the boss would fuck that up?
No, you know what? It's live streaming. People don't get this is like we're live streaming right now. All right. I'm trying to do a lot of things at once. So we're it looks terrible when you do it outside of the make a copy. This is why it's a disaster. Now, here we go. Almirola, Blaney, Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott. We've got this group. Now, the first thing I do is I look at track history, try to figure shit out because we have no other thing to go off. There's no practice times. We can look at what they've been doing lately. This is just a random draw. So what can you tell me about the track history of some of these guys where we should potentially be targeting them or not?
Any of them, or like Almirola specifically?
I mean, Almirola, look, I mean, it's pretty obvious here. The guy is not good.
We don't really need to talk about Almirola.
What about
That
Blaney?
dude's a trash can.
Blaney's starting second. He's pretty cheap, but he hasn't had
So-
a great history here.
Yeah, no, Blaney is very interesting here. So if you look over at the this driver rating tab, you'll see, he's actually a slightly worse than, like, he's about comparable to Almirola, right? Pocono. However, look at that intermediate and large track in 2020. This dude's been fucking killing him. This new crew chief, this car, it's been a top 2 car all year long. I'm loving Blaney. I think he gets the lead early from Almirola, very, very early, possibly like lap 1, like right off the fucking bat. I think his car is just that much better. He's been an elite driver all year long. Hell, he just won the last race. I got too much love for Blaney for this race, way too much. However, I do want to exercise a little bit of caution with him because we only have 130 laps. That starting second does scare me a little bit. We do need him to lead quite a bit at 9,000 for him to be able to pay off and finish highly.
It's not that he needs to lead. I actually think he just needs to finish. He needs to lead a little and finish in the top 2. Like he can't fall back too far. Is really, but again, our research shows us that these guys don't fall back very far very often. So this feels like a dominator or bust play for me a little bit. Like I'm not so confident, but 9K is not that expensive. We'll have to see how lineup construction looks on DraftKings, but 9K and his ownership percentage 28%. That sounds about right. So
yeah, so like with that added risk, I don't like love him for cash just because I think there's a little bit too much risk for me. But GPP, I'm actually like really liking him here.
Yeah, tournament play is all we really care about.
Yeah.
So Denny Hamlin, also decent history here. Been pretty good this year. Nothing. He's not blowing me away this season so far, but he's been good.
Yeah, I mean, he's been really good here. Let me just pull this up real quick here.
Again, cheap price point. I think this is fascinating to me, and this is, I mean, I got to get to that, but
what's up?
I mean, Chase Elliott, 19%. What the hell?
So, yeah,
well,
this is what I was looking for.
Let's go to, so Hamlin just seems like an alternate to Blaney. Sharp play here.
Yeah, very correct. But if you look at Hamlin, look at his win odds compared to Blaney. So Vegas does prefer Hamlin slightly more. I do think with no practices, no qualifying, none of that shit, Vegas does matter quite a bit more for us. But however, I think Blaney's just a better car on the year. But it is worthy to note that Vegas does prefer Hamlin a little bit more. I think that's largely due to track history. Hamlin's got a better track history here than Blaney does. So I think that they're giving him a little bit more love for that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Blaney's car has just been different.
Yeah, Blaney's had the better car. I give Blaney the better opportunity to win this compared to Hamlin personally, but again, yeah, you can't ignore too much, but they're close, and Vegas doesn't really know. So here's the big one: Kyle Busch, first place, third place, ninth, has had a very good track history here recently, even winning last year where he wasn't winning a whole lot. Like Kyle Busch just hasn't been winning a lot of races. And he hasn't been leading or dominating this season at all so far. Looks like he's going to be 35% owned. Give me your breakdown on this because I know you have a bold call here.
Yeah, I'm damn near about 5% with Kyle Busch. I got to really looking into his stats last night and talking to Nilly about him. If you look into Kyle Busch's history, he is among the drivers that take the most practice laps every single race. Like I think at Martinsville, he had like 55 practice laps in practice 1 and 62 or something in practice 2 last year. Like just as an example of a track. Like he damn near raced 60 something laps each practice. He relies on that practice to make adjustments. His team this year has not come into a race with the right adjustment ready to go. And I think that starting 4th, if he has a bad adjustment, he's going down like 15th or something off the bat. With only 130 laps, I question, the upside. I hate that he's $300 more than Blaney, whose team has been dominant all year, even with the COVID standards. I just think that, like, obviously this is like a big time call, but for me, I'm more comfortable with Blaney than Kyle Busch. I get the Kyle Busch dominance of the track. Over his last 10, 3 wins, 4 top 5s, 8 top 10s, average finish in 9.4. I get it. It's a total historical call. Vegas loves him. For me, I think I prefer Blaney slightly.
All right. So just to be clear, everybody listening in here, this is a bold call. Kyle Busch is probably going to be the chalk. If you're in a cash game, he's going to be opposing you. You probably should play him. When you take this information, you take it and do with it what you will, right? To fade Kyle Busch is to fade essentially what is the highest owned stud on the track right now, or one.
He's the king of this track.
He's quote the king of the track, but Kyle Busch is the king of a lot of fucking tracks, and he hasn't been dominating on them. People, it's funny from the outside looking in. It seems like every week it's the same thing. Kyle Busch is the king of this track. He's the king of every fucking track, but he hasn't been doing it this year. So I think there is merit to saying, this motherfucker has not been leading tracks. The thing though is he's priced down quite a bit, and so I do think that's noteworthy because he doesn't need to. Again, these 9K guys, they just need to finish top 3. They don't actually need to dominate for a long stretch of time in order to be in the nuts lineup. They just need to hang around the front. So essentially, this race feels like it's way more about who's going to be the finishing 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8 than it will be trying to figure out who the dominator is. And I think you can have more than one of these guys starting up high and still have a good lineup. Like I'm going to do probably at least one or maybe at least 2 dominators for this race, but not because I think I need 2 dominators, but I just think 2 guys who are potential dominators will probably finish in the top 3. And I don't think you need to dominate. I think you just need to finish high and hopefully move up a few positions, get a couple of place differential spots along the way. Not much.
You want to pull up Nilly's tool for that? I'm slightly different than you on this. I prefer the place differential guys.
Well, there's not that many of them though. That's the thing. You might not get like, all right, Kyle Busch, start 4, finish 4.
I'm gonna have to reload it. I don't know how long it's been. Just retype Kyle Busch.
I usually look at this.
There you go. It popped in.
Yeah, there we go. So start 4, finish 4, 40 points. Not good enough. You're right. He would have to finish, let's say, 2nd. That gets us to 44. Or he would have to get dominator points. So, yes, as a matter of fact, looking at the numbers, it doesn't look so great for Kyle Busch or any of these guys starting super high up without at least dominating or moving up. But 40 points, I'm not sure that cuts it for 9,300. That's interesting to note. So for same thing with Blaney though. I mean, Blaney's even more dramatic. He's not
for
leading,
sure. But with Blaney, he's got Almirola to beat.
Yeah, that's the
that's
difference.
very attainable.
It looks like Blaney will get past Almirola, and then maybe he gets you 30 laps. Some fast laps along the way, but he still needs to finish top 3 in order to put it all together. So that's the key thing that we have to think about. And why do we talk about this stuff? It's because Steve agrees with the theory on Kyle here. And why do we talk about this stuff? Because it's important to understand as you're building lineups, especially if you're MME. Listen, to make a cash lineup, we can kind of look at things a little bit differently. But we just need guys finishing up top. We don't need the best. But when you're making a tournament lineup, you have to think, what are the chances? What are the probabilities of Kyle Busch or one of these guys starting top 4, leading for a bunch of laps, and then hanging around and finishing top 3? Right? We actually have those numbers. So here, we actually have implied top 3. And this is a really good number for exposure setting. Like, we need a lot of these guys starting up top to finish top 3. So, all right, what are the chances of this guy? Well, top 3 and it's 31% implied probability. So you have some numbers that are sort of, I would say, a guideline on how much exposure to limit with some of these drivers. I mean, honestly, Kyle Busch, 44% implied. What we're saying, this is why he will be the chalk, but it's important to note that he's going to be the chalk. So even though it's 44%, you might want to go on the side of the 66% that says if he doesn't finish top 3, you're fucking dead, right? You played him. He didn't score well enough. He's 7th, 8th. He scored in 37 points. You didn't win shit. So there's a 56% chance, according to this implied probability, that he doesn't finish top 3. Sometimes that's an important thought going in, but he's going to be chalk. So what do? Right? Are you a chalk eater? Or
for me, he has a particular teammate that we're going to get to here in a minute that I'd much rather have.
Well, there we go. So let's keep rolling through. Chase Elliott has been the hottest driver this season. He's always hanging around. How has he done in this race in the past, besides the crash last year?
Yeah, so I don't love Chase Elliott at Pocono. He's never been like the guy per se. Not that he's been bad by any means. I'm going to do my sorting shit here. Yeah, 8 races, 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s. So half the time he's in the top 10. It's not like he's been great, but as we've mentioned, with no practice, no qualifying, Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney have been the guys in terms of their cars being fucking good. With only 130 laps, they're going to need to nail that car right off the bat. Once you get to those, everybody goes into the pit rotations and stuff. Those guys that are up front are going to need to stay up front. I think that's going to be a big advantage here if Elliott's car is that good. Yeah, I'm all about it.
Yeah, I think
Elliott. I do think I'm treating him as a one-off to like a Harvick more than I am like one of my top dominators.
Elliott's the new Kyle Busch, man. This guy is fucking kicking ass this year, and you got to get on board. You got to get on the bandwagon for Elliott seeming to have taken a leap in his career, or maybe he's one of these guys that does better without the fucking practice. I don't know. It's Rona time. I don't know, but he's been doing really well. Now, so I like Chase here. You like him too. He's priced up, almost the most expensive driver outside of. He's the second most expensive driver, so that's interesting, but understandable. Now, here's a very expensive driver that seems surprising to me, and that's Joey Logano. Not good here traditionally. 86, like you got Chase, a 108 traditional driver rating, fine by me. Logano 86, 92. What the fuck? Why is he so expensive?
That's a great question. I wish I could give you an answer on that one.
Nope. Very strange.
Now, 10 races, 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s, average finish of 17.1.
It won't be enough. It won't be enough. If Logano doesn't lead, do I need to prove this with a Nilly tool? Let's do it.
Yeah, go for it, because his Pocono driver rating long term is 92. That's just not good enough, man.
Logano needs to finish second to get 46 fantasy points. He's 2K more than Kyle Busch. Let's say he finishes one of his better races 5th. He's only getting you 40, and this is not a good play. He could wind up in the nut, but I mean, like, he's very expensive, and if you're spending salary, this is just not a good play. He'll have to lead. It doesn't seem super likely, and if you look at Logano, where I keep going to the wrong one, too many open. If we look at Logano's top 3 odds, 25%. That's not that great. 8% to win the race. He pretty much needs to win it to pay off 10-4. I'd rather have Chase Elliott here for the same money by a
I
lot.
think if you're playing Joey Logano at all, in my opinion, it's straight up like 150 only, and it's very, very little exposure. I don't see a way for Joey to just dominate this race. There's too many good guys ahead of him already.
No doubt. I mean, we're going to have to run through these faster. I'm seeing here as the time is ticking by. This could be a 2-hour breakdown. I think I was just thinking. So I want to run through these a little bit quicker. Logano, don't love the play. 15% exposure for the field currently. Not great. I think the same for Kurt Busch here. I mean, does he stand out to you? He's not been good here.
Yeah, no, we can fly through this one. Fuck no.
Yeah. Hell no. Oh, I need that. All right.
He does have one win in his last 10. His average finish is 13.6. It's better than Joey. It's a better play than Joey. It's just not good.
It's not good enough here. I mean, he could hang around. Again, this is a hang around guy. If he hangs around and finishes top 5, let's see what his top 3 implied, 15%. Okay. If he finishes top 3 at 8,100 from this spot, he probably will be in the nuts. You got to be top 3, 15%. Kozlowski, let's see what his driver rating has been here, 96, just all right. He's been very good this year, though. 31% implied top 3, so acceptable. And then we get to Mr. Excitement himself, Kevin Harvick.
That's correct.
120.
That's the guy that I'm liking a lot today.
Well, he's got a lot going for him here, man. 120.3 traditional driver rating. That's pretty much the best besides Kyle Busch.
Yeah, 6 top 5s, 8 top 10s over the last 10. No wins over the last 10, but average finish like 9.7. I think that with no practice, he's actually been really good lately. Whenever his COVID first started, he was one of the slower cars. But here lately, I think he's been good. But the thing with Harvick is he actually offers us some pretty good place differential upside compared to the other dominators. And he actually does have some solo dominator upside to him.
I mean, with Harvick, I got to.
You have to start with first name.
Yeah. With Harvick, because he's starting ninth. If we get a third place, that's 47. So we've looked at these other guys. They need top. They're finishing third, fourth. They're getting you 40, 41. He's getting you 47. So people are like, well, it seems really close. Harvick he could dominate a little bit, but this is what we're looking at, right? That is close, but that's going to be the margin between nuts or not nuts. The hillbilly loves Chase today. That hillbilly, Gamer Asylum, even at his price. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think salary matters all that much, but we'll have to see as lineups come together. Where are we? Okay, back to this. Bowman, what do we think about Bowman here?
I think he's a better play on FanDuel than he is DraftKings. Personally, not in love with it on DraftKings. I think I'm just going to play Bowman on FanDuel solely. I don't love the upside of him. Love the price. Don't get me wrong. I love that price.
Now
I just think there's a couple of better place differential guys at that same price I'd rather have shares of.
You probably go down a little bit. So we'll get to those guys, right? Like my boy Boyer and some other ones. There are some plays down here I love. So, yeah, Bowman, just another alternate. He's been good this year. Martin Truex actually should be popular. 32% implied top 3, 9,700, 33%. So it looks like he's going to be very high owned. Has some wins here. I mean, are you excited to play Truex here?
Yes, very excited. Like I said, I'm going to play one of his teammates when we talked about Kyle Busch a little bit more. That 11th place starting position at this race with 130 laps, I'm in. I think he has much higher upside than Kyle Busch. If you can get there, I think I'd rather take my shares from Kyle Busch to either Blaney or Truex. Take your pick. Truex may have slightly more upside to him compared to Blaney if Blaney doesn't lead a lot of laps. I just think Blaney can get to that lead and hold it for a little bit. Personally, yeah, I love Martin Truex.
Yeah, he's a good play here. I mean, you can't. It's just he's the best stud starting low. You get 111 point. Now there are some other even better plays, but of this top group, it's pretty safe. I would say to play Truex here. You're getting an 11th place starting position, and again, if we move up from here to third or fourth, we're talking about 50 fantasy points. That's what he's projected for. He's got a very strong projection for good reason. And yeah, I'm down with Truex as well. Jimmy Johnson's not a guy I personally ever use. I don't know if he's somebody that, well, I mean, not good here.
No, not great at all. I hate the starting position. Vegas hates him. Look at how much Vegas hates him. I think that's very telling of Jimmy Johnson today. He has not shown shit since COVID started. I feel bad. I want to see Jimmy do good. It's his farewell tour. I want to see him do good.
Not
He
in
ain't
love
doing
with
shit.
Not in love. Not in love here. And here we go. We talked about scrubby guys starting kind of high, and here's Ryan Newman. Not traditionally anything spectacular here. 70. I'm just going to skip by this. This doesn't feel like a good play. Stenhouse also has been pretty decent this year, but I mean, horrible at this track based on this history.
Yeah,
I
this
think
isn't his track.
we can ignore him. Now we get to some guys who are a little more interesting. Tyler Reddick's been my dude all year. I want to get back on the train. Am I crazy, or does that make sense?
No, that makes a ton of sense. This dude's a top 10 machine, and DraftKings will not price him up. Take advantage of that while you can. I don't think he has the dominator upside here, but at 7,400, what if he gets eighth? What's Neil say if he gets eighth?
Guys, here, you got to see it. You got to see it, because sometimes we're trying to figure shit out in our head, and we don't know. If he finishes third, he crushes, right? But if he only finishes eighth, that's 43. So an eighth place finish from Reddick is a cheaper buy price by a lot, 7,400, and just as good as like Chase or one of these other guys finishing third or even second. So this is very telling. What if he only finishes 10th? Hey, he had a terrible race. Still got you 40 points. 39.
That's still great value at that price.
For that price, this is a guy we're going to want a lot of exposure to. We want a lot of exposure to T-Lo. Can we call him T-Lo? Like T-Red? I need a name for Reddick. T-Red.
We'll come up with something. T-Lo just doesn't sound right.
T-Lo. I like T-Lo, but it's you're not including the last name. It's not a winner. It's not a winner. T-Red. No. T-Dick. No.
Oh God.
T-Dick. All right. Willie Byron, another guy. I just always like Willie Byron. Looks like he's had some pretty nice finishes here. What can you tell me here? Because I think he's not well, oh, there it is. 23%. He is going to be pretty high owned. Taco likes him.
I love him. I love Willie Byron. He's been really good at Pocono. He's actually been pretty solid at the large tracks too. I know it's not been very telling. He's had some very, very bad misfortune since COVID started. He seems to be the guy that always gets hit, like unintentionally. Like when on a restart, it's always Willie Byron going to the wall for whatever fucking reason. I feel bad for the dude.
That shit goes
But
on.
here, I love him. He's been finished highly. Great play.
Like Willie, Austin Dillon. This just doesn't look good to me. Just hasn't been good here. Not a top 10 guy at all. Cliff Boyer is starting. He got the jacked up salary level. Here's what's funny: Jones is a better play than Boyer, and he's so much cheaper. I'm just going to jump to Jones. Clint Boyer. I'm just going to say real quick. Very playable. Lots of place differential available here. Although I don't know that he's a must play based on his track. At 98, actually, he's got a pretty good rating here. It's so expensive.
I do want to throw something in real quick. Austin Dillon, I don't mind. Look at his value if he just scores 33. He's so damn cheap at 17. I think that he can finish higher than 14th.
I don't think it's enough because we're looking at value. I don't think value is what's the critical thing here.
I think his ceiling is probably like a 10th place finish. So what's he get if he gets 10th?
41. That's squeaking into the nuts lineup, just barely. It's fine. But what if he finishes like what he normally does? 13. 35, really bad. So the difference is so basically, in essence, with Austin Dillon, you can use the implied probability to understand how much to play. With Austin Dillon, they're saying, okay, he's got a 29%. Well, there you go. 29% implied top 10.
Actually, I think that's the ceiling.
That's the ceiling, right? They're giving him very little. So 70% chance he's outside of the top. I always have to flip it around. There's a 71% chance this guy isn't in the top 10. Therefore, like how much he needs to be in the top 10.
Yeah, I just think he's cheap enough and has a little bit of upside. I'm not going to X him out. I just wanted
What
to
I'm
do a
saying,
quick
though, is
little note about him.
he's never been in the top 10 here before.
We also don't have practices, and he's been pretty solid without the
Yeah,
practices.
he has been solid. All right, now Boyer, another guy, really hasn't been much of a top 10 machine, hasn't been spectacular here. Very jacked up price, but the one thing is he does have a good driver rating here. So that's
Yeah,
interesting.
he's pretty solid at Pocono, which is very interesting because if you go to the track types tab, you know, you'll see he's really fucking good at these tracks. So I don't know why he's
He
not a
just hasn't
higher
finished.
projected ownership.
Well, he
I
just
think
hasn't.
it's solely price.
No, I just think he hasn't finished well. Like if you look at his finishes, he might have had good running positions, but he's got the 4, the 8, the 6, and the 5, but mixed in a lot of mediocre finishes. But I think at 9,500, he's a little spendy, and it's tough. Number one, we'll just jump to the next guy. He's a good play, but Eric Jones is a better play. 7,100. This is your chalk, guys. This is your cash lock. One of the two. There's a second cash lock.
This is my lock of the day right here.
There's a second lock.
Every time I write Eric Jones up as a lock, man, shit happens. But it's NASCAR. It's NASCAR. I live with it. I know I made the right play at the end of the day. The right play is locking Eric Jones.
Jones has been massively undervalued for weeks. Now, of course, that's been burning us because he's been crashing or doing whatever the fuck he does. But he's been massively undervalued for weeks. We get back on that train. Fucking lock.
So here's a little stat for Eric Jones, just a little sweeten the deal a little bit. Eric Jones, 6 races here, 5 top 10s, 4 top 5s, average finish at 8.3.
I'm pointing
Dude,
at it.
love Pocono.
Pointing at it. He's very good here. Load up. Now, here's a guy I don't mind. So I want to run through these a little bit quicker. Nemechek, I think he's a fine play. He's been good all year. He's a little scrubby, but not like super scrub level. So I think he's a fine play. There's a better.
Why is he a fine play and Austin Dillon's a bad play?
4 spots further back.
That's it? That's the only reason? I think I'd rather have Austin Dillon than Hunter Nemechek by far.
That's fair. And I don't love Nemechek, and I don't love Austin Dillon. Like I said, these are 10% guys for me. Like if I'm making 150, I'm 10%, 10. I'm locking them in 10 to 15%, depending on how salaries work out. And it might be a race where I need to salary. We'll see. I haven't quite figured because there's guys I like better down here also. So I just want to run through them real quick. Di Benedetto, another guy. He's been terrible here. I don't give a fuck. Di Benedetto, I don't care what he's done historically. Different car, better this year. I like Matty D all the time.
Yeah, much different car. He's got a Penske affiliate car. Penske loves long races like this. Yes, Matty D. He's one of my favorite drivers on the slate.
Yeah, it's fine. Bad history, though. Bad history. But he was driving a scrub car for a lot of years. Matt Kenseth. Man, he's fucking priced high for what he's been doing.
Agreed.
I've been loving Matt Kenseth on Super Draft because they have him like a scrub with the high multiplier. And we'll take a look at Super Draft at the end of this, guys, because that's where the monies are made the easiest. And that's where I'm going to be focusing my entries. I've been winning these fucking NASCAR on just these projections are so sharp. I've been winning those things. And I love it when the race doesn't promise a lot of carnage. That's even better for Super Draft. But Kenseth, 8,600 is a little pricey for me, but I like where he's starting. So he's gonna need to get us a top 10, 31% implied probability. 8,600, he needs to get us there. Bubba just not good here traditionally. Bubba's been a little better this year. Is he in better equipment?
Not that he's in better equipment. It's just that he's just been a better driver. It's just unprecedented, honestly. I think that ownership projection is a little too low for how well he's been doing. Like, I get it. He's priced up a little bit more than I like. I like Bubba when he's more in that 6,500, 7K range, not the upper 7K range. But, I mean, here recently, he's been really fucking good. Like, you can go back, 3 or 4 pods ago, and I said, hey, he's going to get like a top 15. He got like 13th. You call me
when
crazy?
You say recently, we're not talking in a recent year. We're talking about this season and other tracks because he hasn't been good on this track at all. I'm concerned about Bubba. 7,700 is a little pricey, and he's right here amongst guys I like better. So, Chris Buescher, Cole Custer, Michael McDowell. I'm gonna just this trio. Buescher's just always my guy when he's starting kind of far back. He's not super expensive. I get the history here isn't the greatest, but he's starting 24th. And let's say he hits the ceiling level. Let's see what we got. 25%. That's not that great, but he's been around a 15th place driver here in the past, and he's been a little better this year. So
It is better than Austin Dillon's top 10% if you want to throw that out there.
his is better or worse?
Better, isn't it? No, it's not. No, it's not.
I'll pop.
Scratch
No,
that.
it's a little bit worse, but
I
it's
was thinking
close.
21% for whatever reason.
25 versus 30. But look at this. Oh, I'm on Christopher Bell.
You're on Christopher Bell. I'm about to say, that seems a little fucking high.
Holy shit, I'm definitely playing this guy.
we found the lock.
Yeah. So with a Busher, if he just gets to 13th, 14th place, he's very cheap. You know, if he can get you 12, 44 points, 11, 46, this is the nuts. He's in the nuts at like 12th place. Definitely a guy that's capable of getting there. Definitely a guy that's capable of getting there. So I'm on that bandwagon, and we start moving down from here. Cole Custer is another guy. He's just been good. You know, he's kind of like a low rent version of Tyler Reddick or Christopher Bell this year. Like, would we put him third? It seems to me that Reddick is the best of the rookies, with Bell and then Custer kind of coming in that order, with Nemechek kind of like hanging around too.
Yeah, I think I slightly prefer Austin Dillon over Cole Custer personally. I don't think that he's going to be that great.
Austin Dillon started 17th. Cole Custer started 25th.
I get it. I just don't think the Custer's going to have that great of a day. I think Austin Dillon's got a better chance of scoring higher. That's fair. Personally, he's going to. I think Austin Dillon's going to finish higher. Like you were trying to make a point of earlier, I think that's going to matter for a guy that's like 6,400. Compared to like a Chase Elliott.
He's the thought with Austin Dillon. He's just been a little better this year than in the past because his history doesn't show like, hey, this is a guy who I got to worry about. It's 12th, 11th, 13th. I guess he has been pretty good here. If he could just squeak his way into the top 10.
Yeah, so without practice, he's been pretty solid.
All right.
For what I expected.
All right, that's fair. So Austin Dillon, about the same price. So, but these guys are all a similar play. I think they're all like very playable. You can't squeeze them into your lineup. You got to choose a few, or just mix and match. But you know, I like your love for Austin Dillon, man. After the race, we're gonna have a talk about see what happened.
I better not see a fucking DM from Geek that says, "What the fuck, motherfucker."
I don't trust the process. I only trust the results.
That's fair.
That's how I roll. All right. Michael McDowell, another guy, you know, he's very cheap, going to open some things up. Is this the last of the worthwhile pay downs? I mean, all of this feels like a bunch of crap. Ryan Preece is always somebody you can use in this garbage zone. Ty Dillon. Okay, so we got Ty Dillon starting very far back in the field, 34th. And of course, chalk Christopher Bell. But tell me about Ty Dillon here.
Ty Dillon, he finishes fairly well. So, I mean, if he gets fairly well for Ty Dillon, let me go ahead and stress out what I mean by fairly well. Fairly well for Ty Dillon is like a higher 20, lower team.
I feel like this guy is way overpriced.
I agree. But like I said, DraftKings has priced up the place differential guys. They know who the fuck's got the best chance of scoring highly. Ty Dillon is one of those guys. If you made Ty Dillon his typical, 6,100, he'd be a fucking lock. So they're trying to, spread that ownership out a little bit more. And still not pricing up Eric Jones for whatever fucking reason. But that's a different story. DraftKings, fix your shit. Price my boy up. Justify his shit.
A good finish for Ty Dillon. See, you have to understand that he's 7,200. He's priced up. You kind of expect him to get to like 25th place in a race like this. That's only 28 points, man. He needs to get. Let's see where he is.
No, below that, type in Austin Dillon. Type in his brother. Right below him. Now, what's he get at like a 14th?
No, it doubles.
Better value, cheaper.
No, if he gets 14th, he's only getting you 33. If you go Ty 20th, Ty Dillon is more likely to finish around 25th, 28 points. So yes, Austin Dillon for 1,000 less. All he needs to do is kind of hang around and do his normal 14th and get you 33. That could be enough. So I see where you're coming from.
He's cheap enough. He's cheap.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I'm not writing him off. I'm not going crazy with Austin Dillon. I'm just not skipping over him.
This is
I
going to
think
be
that I
called the
like him
Austin Dillon.
slightly more than Ty because I don't think Ty's got that near 20th place finish in him today.
No, Ty does not look that great. He would need some carnage or something. I think they priced him up too much. I think they did a disservice to my boy Ty Dillon because, again, his upside's kind of like 23rd, 32 fantasy. He can get there, but it's not cheap enough for the
Yeah,
30.
I really like Ty for cash. In GPP, I think I'm going to make the
I think he's too
make the
expensive.
fade a little bit here. I think that Austin Dillon's just a slightly better play than Ty.
He just feels too
Personally,
expensive across the board.
lower
Now,
ownership too.
let's address the best play on the slate, which is Christopher Bell, or one of the best plays. Shockingly, not super high ownership projection, but Christopher Bell. Let's take a look at the Nilly tool here. First, let's look at what he's done. He has no history here, of course. So we got nothing to go off of there. Let's go to our Nilly tool. Christopher Bell. They jacked up the salary on this guy. I mean,
justifiably so.
Yeah, but I mean, kind of a dick move also.
Very dick move, but justifiable.
Very dick move. If you can afford him, the minute you use Christopher Bell, you've only got 7,007. You don't have that much left. If he finishes 15th,
you play Christopher Bell, you're locking in at least 40. Do understand that we're treating Christopher Bell as if he's like a fucking Kevin Harvick at this price. Is 40 going to be enough? And this is where I get a little concerned. I get the 130 laps. I get that there's not a lot of laps to go around, so he's more than likely going to be like a higher scorer on this slate. But at 11-1, him forcing me to use like Austin Dillon and fucking John Hunter Nemechek and those guys in my lineup, I don't love it. I think I'm really rolling with Christopher Bell in like a cash type where he does have a very high upside, very high floor, more than I'm using him in GPP. I think in GPP he's going to sink some lineups personally.
He could. I mean, I'm looking at it here. Basically, for Christopher Bell to be in the nuts at this salary, he gets the top
15, like 50 points.
He could get there. It's 50 points for a top 15. But that's not like Christopher Bell's not. You're right. It's not Kevin Harvick who's likely to finish top 5. He's Christopher Bell. Let's look at the numbers from Las Vegas, right? So when you look at Bell, what the hell? Where am I?
He's at the top. He's at the very top.
Yeah. When I look at Bell, I like my copy. 25% chance at a top 10. So he's not higher. He's right there with like a Chris Buescher, but for a lot more money. But his win odds, his Vegas odds are the same as Chris Buescher. Now, Buescher starting 24th, so 12 points ahead. Listen, it's a big difference. That's 12 fantasy points. But you're paying double the price of Chris Buescher, Cole Custer to get Bell and those extra 12 fantasy points. So that is risky. Beautiful cash play. I think you almost have to play him in cash. You take your 45.
He's damn near cash lock.
Yeah, you got to take the 45. It's fine. The other people in cash are going to guess which guy kind of dominates and finishes top 3. They'll guess wrong, a lot of those guys. So you take it, take the 50. If I guess wrong on Kyle Busch or one of these other guys, like if I guess wrong on Chase Elliott, for example, and let's say Chase Elliott, he's your comparator because he's about the same price. So let's say Chase Elliott, right? Let's say Chase Elliott. What is he? Similar price. If he finishes first, okay, I got you. Same 50 fantasy points.
And if he finishes first, he's going to have some lead laps because that's kind of how this fucking works. That's the math.
He'll get all. That's the top. But let's say he finishes third, didn't really lead, hung around. So, well, we're projecting Bell to finish 15th here. What if he doesn't do that? Hey, 18th. Normally with these guys, they're going to be in the top 20. Like, they'll be like some other guys move back. There'll be some carnage. Now, Chris Bell could be the guy who gets the carnage, but this is a fairly carnagey race. It looks like only, 85% of these guys really finish on the lead or finish the race. So you'll have some guys getting into accidents and shit. They're driving super fast. He'll make his way up to the top 15-ish. But yeah, it's a very in cash. You almost have to play Bell because if you want to play one, unless you want to go not use any kind of 10K plus guys and kind of build a cash lineup around the $8,000 and $9,000 range, which I think is doable. Also, you could probably catch a bunch of guys who are going to finish top 10 and just 8-9K range, and throw Jones in there.
Yeah.
All right.
So I'm going to talk for just a second here on Christopher Bell, if you let me. Christopher Bell here. Okay. Cash game luck. Love him. You literally almost have to play him. I get the price sucks. I get it. What I've been doing that I actually love making lineups with for cash is Christopher Bell, and I like mixing him with Martin Truex over like a Kevin Harvick. I think Kevin Harvick's going to be your chalk. Truex has a higher floor to me, personally. He is damn near similar odds to Kevin Harvick for winning and all that stuff. I think damn near 6-point different projected points. I don't think he has the dominator upside of a Kevin Harvick. I do think Truex is going to be very chalky as well, but I think in cash you're going to see Harvick. For whatever reason, I think they're going to go with that. I'm taking my $400, which I can actually do a little bit with. $400 here actually means a little bit more than $400 at other races, just because of how the salaries came out. I'm liking Truex. I'm liking Bell. My thing with Bell is I don't love it for GPP. The 11-1 is just a little much. His, when this new package and stuff came out, he's been trending downward in finishes on these large flat tracks. I think Nilly made a great point of that in calming the chaos towards the end. There's a reason we don't love him a lot in GPP. In cash, lock him, you're getting 40 points. But at 11-1, I don't think that fucking 40-point thing is good for GPPs. Take that, take your ownership, spread it with the Byron, spread it with the Tyler Reddick, spread it with all that. In GPP, I'm not saying fade him, but damn near fade him, personally. And that's my spiel on him.
It's a big ask to fade. If he finishes top 10, he's probably a good chance he's in that 23%. It makes sense that he's not a guy that people are going to load up on. It just makes sense because of the salary level. Now, there is a place where we're going to load up on Chris Bell, by the way. I'll show you that in a second. But
there's two places, by the way.
FanDuel
has him at 8K. If you don't fucking play him on FanDuel,
so let's be clear.
You're just throwing money away.
Yeah, let's be clear on that because we always talk from and it's unfair. Fuck DraftKings. We got to talk about all the sides. From FanDuel doesn't do the thing where they change the salary of these guys based on where they're starting, so you get a much better price on Bell over on FanDuel. A normal price on Bell, like a scrub, he's a lock there, like 100%. Also, over on Super Draft, he's a lock. But one last guy who's showing up as a pretty high projected ownership guy, and I want to just address him, Ryan Preece. Is Ryan Preece the best pay down on the slate? He's the cheapest guy showing up with ownership.
Yeah, in my opinion, yes. I think that everybody's flocking to Michael McDowell for whatever fucking reason. Honestly, I don't get it. McDowell on large flats, it's 3% worse than any other track for him. His average rating is like 53. I truly don't get it. Preece has been really good since this COVID. Really good for Preece is I think he's been finishing top 15 a lot more than I thought that he would. He gets a top 15 today. What's he get at 15 points? Let me look that up real quick.
We'll pull that up. But meanwhile, I want to tell Steve, switch McDowell for Ryan Preece, and now you got something.
44 points at 15th place.
Hold on.
7.59x.
Who are we talking about?
Preece.
He's not finishing. Ryan Preece, what's his upside?
15th.
20th?
He's been pretty fucking good. I think 20th is more realistic than a 15th. I'm talking ceiling-wise. This race goes great for him. It's a 15th. 20th is more realistic. 20th, 21, 22, that range.
Yeah, 20th is going to be an amazing finish for him. But as a cash play, I don't know about if he's like the greatest tournament upside in the world guy.
No,
on this race where it doesn't really pay off to use a lot of scrubs. I'm just going by what it said about the scrubs early on, that these guys really don't it's not the best.
34 points though at that price is pretty damn good. That allows you to get some pretty good drivers.
You know what's interesting about this race? The laps are so big, and we're coming up on an hour. The laps are so big that everybody probably winds up on the lead lap if they're still racing. Like, it's hard to fall behind because you could fully pit on a 2.5 mile track, get out of there, and still be on the lead lap. Like, if you got into some shit and you have to pit early, it's not like you fall behind 3 laps. You're still on the lead lap. Like, it's a long ass track, 23, and then all those cautions probably bring everybody back to the lead lap, regardless if they keep happening. If he finishes 23rd, 28 points, again, not tournament winning, but the difference between 23rd, which is probably like what you would almost expect, and let's say like 19th, 36 at 5,800, that's close to possible in the perfect lineup. So you need him to do obviously a little bit better than he normally does, but he's going to be pretty heavily owned and probably the best of the cheap turds, it looks like.
He's easily the best cheap guy. I'm not saying go crazy on him, 5,800. I'm not saying that at all. But he actually has been pretty fucking solid since COVID stuff has hit.
All right. For the rest of these guys, I think it's a big hell no.
It's a big hell no.
All right. If Taco was here, he would sing the song for us. Or technologically,
if Taco was here for that.
I'll have that ready for next time. I have a technology thing that I'm going to do, and we'll have a little something fun with the hell no. But for next one, Super Draft. I want to talk about Super Draft real quick, guys. If you don't play on Super Draft, yeah, Steve needs a mic. They want the chat wants Steve in the pod.
Good old Grease.
All right. Who's Grease? Is that Priest? Okay, there we go. Yeah, see? My man. All right. So let's talk about Super Draft real quick. Listen, let me make it simple. Projections are good on Super Draft. Look at this. What is this telling me? You have such a fucking lock at the champion spot that we don't have to like look too far. You got between Bell, Jones, and Kenseth always shows up really well here because of his giant multiplier. I think Kenseth could be fine here as well, but he's been pretty shitty. But this grouping, this trio looks to be scoring significantly more than everybody else. So you've got a pretty good start here. So I'm just, without giving away too much of my personal strategies on trying to win that shit on Super Draft myself, these three, and then basically a mix of all these similars is how I plan to play it. What do you say?
Don't look at me. I don't fucking play Super Draft. I can't play that shit.
So
fucking illegal here. It's bullshit.
Listen,
guys, if you are able to play Super Draft and you're not, what the hell? We're literally printing money on that every fucking race.
So many DFS Army in there now that like we're tying.
Yeah, I wish I could play that shit. Larkin makes great projections on this. Great notes. Let's fucking play it.
Have been gold. So I'm giving you a brief glance. Go to Super Draft, guys. Sign up. Use this button here. Take me to Super Draft on the Super Draft projection sheet. Use code ARMY. They give you a $50 match. It's worth it as long as you're in one of the states that are allowed. Just do it.
Missouri, wake up. Fix your shit.
I started my Super Draft. I was like a regular guy. I started my Super Draft, put $200 in there. I've got over 4K in there. like it was like FanDuel in 2012 for me, where I took 100, and turned it into 20,000. Like, it's so much harder now, but Super Draft is like going back in time a little bit. So I think it's awesome.
We literally kill every single fucking sport in Super Draft. Like, why? If you can play it and you don't play it, I don't understand it.
Yeah,
like, not in a shot in the dark thing, but like literally play the hell out of that thing. We kill it.
And there won't be overlay for this probably, but for the MMA and definitely for the golf, there's like a lot of overlay going on over there. So it's worth checking out. All right, let's wrap it up. That's it for the Sway Bar. For Auburn Fan 30, my man, thank you for breaking this down for us. Guys, if you're watching this, jump on the research station. Part of why we're doing this is to give you an idea of what you can look at to formulate your own opinions about these races. I mean, it's very clear when you look at that, between that and the tools that Nilly gives us, where you can kind of get a sense of what these drivers will do. If you spend that extra bit of time and try to understand these probabilities, you can really, gain an edge on the field. The more kind of time you put into this, the better it can work out. Obviously, NASCAR has crashing and unknowns, but all sports have that, so you never really know. There we go. Let's call this a pod. This race starts when?
2:30 Eastern.
3:30 Eastern. Holy shit! Now, for those of you, 2:30
I believe.
Eastern.
Oh yeah, it is 3:30 Eastern. Isn't it? Fuck, everything's on Central Time for me.
No,
Yeah,
it's not.
fucking 3:30 Eastern.
3:30. We got about 3 hours to go. I will be back shortly with an MMA breakdown, 15 minutes or less, for tonight's card. So there's so much fucking DFS action. I know you guys are doing NASCAR, but I will do an MMA 15-minute breakdown here very shortly as well. So if you want to hang around the channel, look for that live stream. Give me, I need a drink, and then we'll roll. And this is just an exciting day of action. Go play the truck race. Go play the cup race. Tomorrow we got a fucking Xfinity. We got another cup race. MMA tonight. There's Korean baseball. There's fucking league of every kind of esport going on in the world. So we have a ton of shit going on. DFSarmy.com. Go check it out. And good luck, everybody, in all of your entries today. Auburn.
Helmets the fuck up.
Hell yeah. Wait. Let me take us out. Take us out with the music.
Got the best coaches in the game, we really ain't playing. We regroup up in the Slack chat where the coaches debrief. We be piecing these puzzles, occupy the chunk of the pie. Ain't no lie when we hit the block, helmets casket is top. You be seeing helmet after helmet, helmet after helmet. First place, second place, fifth place, eighth place, 12th place, 15, 16, 20. So many helmets, you got blurred vision, we got too many. Get your tech. Oh man, shit.